Are you ready to take control of your wealth and design the life you envision for yourself and your family? Welcome to Wealth of Insight with Austyn Whittenburg from Whittenburg Wealth Partners. Austyn guides you through the entire planning process to help you build a plan that seeks to protect your financial future. He empowers you with creative investment opportunities and planning ideas to help you understand and achieve your long-term goals. It's time to gain confidence in your financial future. Now, on to the show.
All right. Welcome back to the Wealth of Insight podcast. Today, I thought we'd talk through one of the tools we use in our practice to help us here at Whittenburg Wealth Partners give holistic financial planning advice to our clients. So I wanted to have Colleen Bowler on today, who's the co-founder of C&J Innovations and the developer of the Passports tool that we use in our practice. So thanks for joining us, Colleen.
Oh, such a pleasure, Austyn. Such a pleasure.
Colleen is a longtime family friend of ours. She's a colleague. We work together as advisors, and now she's a strategic partner of ours moving into the next phase of her career. So, Colleen, why don't you give us just a quick sort of 30 to 60-second history on your history through financial services and how you got to C&J Innovations and developing the passports.
Oh, sure, Austyn. Thank you again for having me on. Okay, so I started in financial services the way no one should. I was in the middle of a divorce. I had a sick 3-year-old, and I ended up with sole custody of my son. And I needed a different job, something with more flexibility. And somebody said, "Hey, Colleen, you're good at math. Why don't you do this thing called financial advising?" Which, by the way, math is only one part of financial advising, but the rest of it I will talk about. The first year, I made $14,000, not stellar. And I don't know how a single working parent, or actually working parents, do it. I was just blessed to have a whole group of people, family and friends around me that were able to support me through starting my own firm. So then fast forward 28 years later, I'm in the top 1% of all financial advisors. We have an incredible team. That's a big deal. And a big deal was in financial services, there's only about 15 to 18% women. And it's an incredible career for women. So anybody hearing this, that might be a little plug for women. And I decided to do a succession plan and sell my firm so that I could work with advisors like you, Austyn, and others in what we learned in working with our clients throughout the time. Once I became successful, of course, I was asked to speak a lot about how did we really create value in our clients' futures, and how did we build such deep relationships? And oftentimes I was on those platforms with advisors from Whittenburg Wealth, which I loved, and we chatted about our best practices. And through that, I realized what was key to what we did, and what almost all good financial advisors do, is they don't look at just the investments. It is about the whole person. It is about what are their mindsets in all different areas of their lives, not just financial. Investments are great, insurance is great, but what about wellness? What about other things? And so we put together the Passport package. After I sold my firm, I have a great partner. Her name is Jeannie Hurlbert. She's a PhD in sociology, and she did and put together all the technical stuff of the Passport package.
Awesome. Yeah. And you mentioned a few things in there I want to touch on real quick. The first is providing value. And I think I've mentioned this on most of the episodes we've done here, but if your financial advisor is only talking to you about your investments, it might be time to look elsewhere, right? Especially since you started and with my dad, like in the time that you guys have been in this industry, technology has really taken a lot of the lengthy and difficult investment related tasks not away, but it's simplified that, right? The investment piece that now, certainly an important part of the picture, but you can get that almost anywhere. There's got to be value. We really look at for ourselves, as much as it is investments, but really we like to think of ourselves almost as like the tour guide or the guide for clients on their journey towards their financial goals. And a handful of those are going to be investment related, but a lot of those are going to be family or other areas of their financial life, as you say.
Yeah. And I think what a lot of people miss is, as you know, finance touches every area of our lives. And if our financial advisor isn't connecting with us, here's a little stat. COVID, average weight gain in the US was 29 pounds. 29 pounds.
Wow.
That wellness situation has really changed again. And for many of our clients, then that means having conversation. It doesn't really matter what your investment portfolio has done because you feel horrible. I mean, it's just not a good thing.
Right.
And to get back on the right track, finances such as what kind of food are we eating? What kind of exercise are we doing? Do we have someone coming to our home? All those different things are touched by finance.
Yeah. That's, and so this is really, really how it's helped us in our practice. And, what we're looking to do is it just can help us find the other areas or find what's maybe top of mind for clients, right? As an advisor, I go into a meeting with a client and I maybe have some biases or predisposed things based on previous conversations of, hey, here's what I think we want to talk through. But as we started to send our clients through these passports, it really uncovered opportunities and uncovered what was the most important thing to them, which, not to beat a dead horse here, but reiterated that investments aren't always the most important thing. And so it's really helped us figure out, hey, what's going to be the most important thing to this client? How can we focus our attention best to make sure that we're talking to them about what's top of mind and what's most important?
Yeah, Austyn, you said the key word. It is what's most important to them. So many advisors forget that there's money attached to their client, or their client is attached to their money. It is not about the advisor. It is about them. It is about how are we creating value, as we said earlier, in their future. And if they come into a meeting and they're worried about their weight, or they're worried about their plumbing issue or kid in school, or it really doesn't matter about the investments and what it's done. So we'll tell a little story about passports. One of the mindsets is about readiness. And that is, do we have that foundation, that 3 to 6 months emergency fund? We don't do any investing. You don't do any investing until that at Whittenburg. So we had a client come in who had breast cancer. And this is after they had come back in afterwards and said, I just wanted to let you know that I didn't want to have that money in the emergency fund. And I didn't want to buy disability insurance. You use that example. If you had a machine in your garage kicking off, $150,000 of income every year, would you insure it? And I said, yes, and begrudgingly got it. But those two things, when I went in for all my treatments, that caused such great peace of mind that I could just not worry about that. That piece was covered. And if we hadn't gone through those mindsets, we wouldn't have been able to have that conversation. If all we worried about was her investment return, we wouldn't have had that conversation.
Yeah. So I'm going to run through real quick just what the mindsets are. And then we can talk through about, a few other stories like that of in client situations, how it's really helped out. So the mindsets are the readiness mindset, which, as you mentioned, is, do I have that safety net, the emergency fund? There's the wellness mindset, which is, is your health and fitness, is that in line with these other long-term objectives that you may have? The foundation mindset, that's, do you have a good are the key protections in place? Insurance, estate planning, those types of things. Got the longevity mindset, which was, if you live to be 95 or 100, do you have a plan to make that happen? Not only from a money standpoint, but who's going to help you with that?
Yeah.
Caring mindset, which is, have you taken the steps to ensure that your loved ones can find and access the documents and accounts they need if something happens to you, right? And that's a huge one that oftentimes gets overlooked. I can't tell you the number of calls I've got from kids of clients or from clients saying, hey, if something happens to me, where do people go, right?
Can I make one note on that?
Yeah.
Hey, it is part of the caring mindset is passwords. We hit COVID, and a lot of the conversations that you were having was about, does somebody know where your passwords are? How are you accessing those? My own husband he's like, here's my passwords. It's, it's like my favorite car, my best year, and 2 exclamation points.
Right.
Right. So we all have those things to look at in the passports.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And that becomes a really critical thing in the digital world that we live in today. So we have the partnership mindset, which is about, and this is maybe more set up for people who aren't already clients, but do you work with a financial advisor? Do you have someone that's helping you as a trusted partner, right? So, and then this is where the process differentiates between maybe the younger clients and the older clients. So there's, for the younger clients who are in a more accumulation mode, right. It's, are you accumulating, and maybe I should back up and say with these passports, right? So the passports are a survey that we're having our clients go through, or a questionnaire. I shouldn't say it's not a survey, it's a questionnaire.
Yes.
So that, when new clients come in the door, for our current clients, we're sending them a link. They go through, they make sure that they answer questions about, hey, here's where I am and here's where I want to be for each of these mindsets. So if I'm a level, it's on a scale of 1 through 12, maybe I'm a level 4 on my health and fitness, but I want to be a level 12. And it throws out some suggestions for us to help clients get there. And so for those younger clients, then we talk about accumulation mindset. Do you have a plan for accumulating the assets you may need? And then the walkaway mindset, which is, you're participating in a retirement plan at work. If so, what does that look like? And how does this work towards your, overall financial or quote unquote retirement plan? And for the older clients, it's the Walkaway Passport. So the changes there are an income mindset. Do you have a plan for your income if you were to step away from your job? And then a purpose mindset, which is if you do step away from your job or you sell your financial planning practice or whatever, do you have a plan for what's next and how to make sure that you still feel that sense of purpose that your job or income, provided you? So these are the questions that clients go through to help us figure out the areas where they feel like, hey, maybe I feel like I'm good here. I've got my 6 months savings. We don't need to really spend much time there, but my income mindset is a little off. How do we focus there? So those are the mindsets that clients go through and answer for us. And that's really helped us provide that holistic picture. Again, getting away from over the last 6 months, your investments did X or Y, but it's how close are you to having the 5 key protections in place, like your life insurance, like your disability insurance, like you mentioned, those types of things.
Yeah. And it is, as you said, that distinction, Austyn, between 45 and under, we're accumulating assets, we're expanding our wealth. Not that we don't expand it over age 45, but there's that line that is between 45 and below and 45 and above. And the assessment really, it just takes, 5 to 7 minutes, but it's something, mindset, those 8 critical mindsets, as you said, mindsets, which started back with, Carol DeWick and her book, Mindsets. She's been working on that for 30 years. Our mindsets are a habit. And as we go year by year and take the passports, we can also see where we've gotten really strong in our habits. And maybe sometimes, like that health and wellness one over COVID, where we slipped a little, and also, as you said, Austyn, it is all about them. It is all about our clients. And when we know from the simple assessment of the passports where they are now and where they want to be in their future, and we can track it year by year, that to us is really ROI. In the investment world, it's called return on your investment, but in the passport world and in Whittenburg Wealth world, it's return on involvement. It is return on what are the benefits from working together in our partnership to get you into the future that you want to be in?
Yeah. And I think that's really one of the most powerful parts of it too, is that investment and the tracking of it over time, right? It's really easy for us to say from an investment standpoint, here's where your investments were and here's where they are now, right? So we can track that pretty easily, but it's harder for us to track the health and wellness things like you mentioned, or the caring mindset of, do people know how to access things? It's harder for us to track that. So as we continue to do this with clients, it's been really interesting to track their progress in some of these other areas. And again, just helping us provide value in places we may not have even thought about before, and like I mentioned, as advisors, we try to get away from our own just biases and habits, and we're just sometimes maybe going through the motions. And this has really helped bring to light some things that are important to clients that I maybe wouldn't have necessarily picked out. I have a couple that I worked with who was in a great financial position. We'd gone through an income plan. They'd accumulated assets. They were going to be okay. But going through with that foundation mindset, one of the big concerns to her was, hey, if I need assisted living, how am I going to be able to afford that? And from my standpoint, working with them, they had plenty of assets, wasn't going to be an issue, but it was the most important thing to her. And so it really opened up that conversation where we were able to have some really in-depth conversations about that topic that I may have just brushed over in a typical scenario because there was plenty of money to take that, but the money wasn't the important part to her. It was just, how does this work? Who can help me? Where do we go? A lot of those types of things.
Yeah, it was that peace of mind to know that it was in place, right? Yeah, that was great for you to listen and hear that.
Yeah, and that I think, again, just putting all of this as client focused as possible is really where we've seen this value with the passports. And again, helping us understand as advisors what's going to be the most important to them. So we're going to make sure to include a copy or a link to each of these passports here in the notes for this episode. So for those of you that haven't taken, for the listeners that haven't taken a passport, you'll be able to take that assessment there and get the copy so you can see where you fall and allow us to give any advice there. So Colleen, before we wrap up here, any final thoughts on the passports? Any other thing you think would be important to know here?
No, Austyn, I think for all of us, knowledge is power. And when we take those passports, we're having a lot of people in your organization that are taking it, your clients that are also sending it to friends and sending it to adult children because they want them to have that knowledge as well. And when you can link up with an advisor like yourself to be able to do it, it's just very, very powerful. So that return on involvement in partnership, in collaboration with an advisor is key.
Yeah. And, it really is about, the financial planning process is an evolving process, right? It's
right.
As soon as a client walks in the door, we have a conversation, they walk out the door and the world's already different. Somebody called them with health concern or the markets did this or that. It really takes that involvement to be side by side with each other, and that's really where we try to focus on, being side by side and being that guide, as I mentioned, through the client's sort of financial life en route to their goals. So great. Well, Colleen, where can people follow you, hear more about what you guys are doing at C&J Innovations?
Well, we're at cnjinnovations.com, but as you know, we work with financial advisors. So many financial advisors out there working there. Otherwise, you can get those links from Austyn. And you know what? Even if it's not the right time yet to work with Whittenburg Wealth, anyone can take that passport and get that information. There are action items for every mindset, which I think is key, that you can get started into your future right now. You don't have to wait for the meeting with anyone from Whittenburg Wealth, or if it's not time right now, you still can get started.
We appreciate that. And if you have any questions or you'd like to learn more, please check out our website at wittenbergwealth.com, or you can text me at 801-839-7056. And please remember to subscribe to the Wealth of Insight podcast and share with your friends and family.
Thank you for listening to the Wealth of Insight podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Stratos Wealth Partners, a registered investment advisor. Stratos Wealth Partners and Whittenburg Wealth Partners are separate entities from LPL Financial. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Whittenburg Wealth Partners. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.